All right, so it's still good morning to you, everyone, and I'm glad to be here. It's always nice to visit Oslo. It's almost like being home in Helsinki. And the weather is very much like the one we have in Helsinki these days, cold and snowy. I will speak today to you about robotrolling, something you might be familiar with already, but basically I'm speaking about messaging with automated accounts. You might come across with messages that are not by humans, they are delivered by robots, or automated accounts, and I will show you a couple of examples how amazingly powerful they might be and how deceptive they might be when used well. But before I go deeper into the topic, a word about bots. They are not always bad, and that is something you should bear in mind. There are in many cases, bots are used to help us. Well, they take care of simple tasks, and for example, when you chat with an airline or bank, you might come up with a bot who answers to simple questions. And that also is very useful when it relieves you to do something more important and let's say relieves resources for something that is perhaps more exciting to do and not that boring as answering to very simple questions about flights and bank accounts and so forth. When I speak about robotrolling, I mean automated accounts that are there to cause harm. They are there to make you behave in a way you wouldn't behave normally, and they are there to create chaos, undermine the confidence in democracy, democratic processes. They interfere in elections, and there are a number of examples of that kind of action already. And well, really, when I speak about robotrolling, it always means something harmful. Let's say a word about IRA. It's not the one that was very active in Ireland. It's something that is very active in St. Petersburg. And just give you a couple of figures. This is from a report made for the U.S. Senate. IRA, this Internet Research Agency, the troll farm in St. Petersburg, they involved heavily in the US elections. There's no doubt about it. And if you look at the numbers, $25 million were used in the operations, and well, only through Facebook, the IRA was able to reach 126 million people in USA. I read the report by New Knowledge. I'm not quite sure how big part of that messaging was from robots, but I'm sure that a big number of it must come from automated accounts, meaning that there was really a real intention to interfere in the elections and affect to the results. Another report made for the US Senate came to similar conclusions. The aim really was to polarize discussion in the USA, and that's the tactics IRA uses. It aims at the extreme left of the political landscape and also to the extreme right to make the crack in the middle wider. I would like to speak to you about Mr. Virta. He is a Finn. That surname is very common in Finland, and he lives in a place called Ylöjärvi. If you pronounce the place right, it sounds like somebody's growing up, but that place really exists in Finland. And here is some information about that guy. He gives out his personal security code and phone number and all that stuff. He's a cutting machine operator. There's his mobile phone, and he's a very open person that he gives also his credit card number and all the security code in the public. But as a matter of fact, there is no such a person alive. Well, to be quite honest, I created him in one boring day in office, and in last October, by using fake name generator. It took about 0.5 seconds to create this guy. If you go and Google, you may find fake name generator, and then you just tick that you want to have a name from USA, a male, and there's a name comes up with social security number and all the details you need. And why this generator is there? It is to create people who do not actually exist on the web. That's how these automated accounts operate normally. They need somebody who looks like human, so you create a fake name. Then you need a photo that is taken normally from Tinder or other exciting places on the web. Then a prepaid SIM card is needed to make the phone call to verify the account, and voila, there you are. You have a social media account for a person who does not exist in real. I hope that I can show you this video. It's a very short one to illustrate to you how this works in practice. Can you put it running? Click and once again. And now that one. Yeah. Great. We need no sound. Yeah, well, so if you follow my postings on social media and you suddenly see, let's say, 200,000 likes to one of my postings, it might not be because of my colorful personality. This is the best price I could get from the net. If you want to have 100,000 visitors, $4 only is needed. I don't know if that is for real, but that's what I found from the net. You can find click farms if you Google. This guy here who is lying on a pile of prepaid SIM cards, he's from the Philippines, and he runs a company that works around the clock creating fake personalities. And what is really needed? A name, email account, photo from Tinder, for example. So if you find your photo there as used for a fake person, and the photo is from Tinder, you might need an explanation for your spouse. And then you need also a prepaid SIM card for verification. So this is very important now when you know that there are a big number of fake identities on social media. And how to know that they are fake? Well, it becomes more and more difficult to see the difference when the account is automated and when it is for real. But let's say that on the average, you need only, let's say, a couple of, well, $50, and you can buy 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 followers, and you can make an impression of yourself being much more popular than you actually are. And when we are approaching elections in various countries, this is important because there might be a temptation for some political parties or politicians to buy followers, to buy likes, to make the political idea he or she represents more likable than it actually is. There are some examples from the States. The first one I came across was about Mitt Romney, whose followers rise from practically from 0 to 100,000 in one night, and that was then suspected of being bought followers. And then there are celebrities who have more than, let's say, 10 million followers, and whenever they, let's say, want to make some kind of advertising, saying that buy Audi or buy a new record from some band, they get more than $10,000 for every tweet or every posting they make, and you can't be sure if all of those followers are for real. I used to be a newspaperman before my career with the government, and very often I was asked as the chief editor that how can I tell to an advertiser how many people really sees his advertisement on the paper, and I was challenged that there's no data I can tell him. That's right, I could not. And then when social media came, I was told as many times that, well, now we can measure, you know, exactly how many people see my ad. Well, we can't, because we don't know how many of those persons are really real. And these robots, they are done very carefully. Meet Naomi. She's a robot, even though she doesn't look like one. Actually, the face was from a golfer from Spain, Petris Recari, apparently. And if you look at her friends or family, they seem to share the same opinion on Audi, phrasing exactly the same way. This is a good way to see that there's a robot operating. It shares the same sentence, the same link, the same news. It doesn't create very much authentic material or something that is original. Even though these days I'm told that the IA makes it even easier to a robot to create content that looks like it is done by a human being. Then we have examples of tremendous use of robots. And whenever somebody speaks about NATO on the web, an army of robots and trolls wake up. And this is from Estonia. 2 years ago, we measured at the COE, where I work for, a record number of bot activity. If you look at the Russian-speaking messaging on NATO in Estonia, 85% of the tweets in 2017 were generated by bots. 85%. And that also indicates to you that there must be some professional player behind it who wants to affect general mood and the how NATO is seen in those countries. And it's not very hard to guess which country I have in mind here. But really, 85% of the tweets came from bots. This is the last slide I have. Hopefully I do not exceed my 15 minutes. Why should we be worried about hostile bots? Why do they count? The first one is, of course, the distortion. Let's assume that there are, let's say, sensitive topics before elections, as they are in any countries, immigration, sexual minorities, and so forth. Bots are very useful in creating a feeling that this kind of idea or, let's say, opinion is something that people really talk about, and that this is what people want, even though that is not the case. Bots are very handy in polarizing people, and that's the main intention, to make the cracks in the society wider, to make the people suspect the decision makers and diminish the trust we have in society. It's very hard root them out. And that's also some social, well, I will also blame social media companies. I'm sure that Twitter, Facebook, and whatever companies we have, they know the problem, but then again, it's a matter of money, because they earn based on the clicks and how many see the ad or how many followers you might have. That's why big number of followers means money, and it doesn't matter, well, whether they are human beings or robots from the viewpoint of social media company. And bots are very easy to use in hostile messaging and very difficult to attribute. Well, I can't see any case in the nearby future where Russians or whoever uses bots comes forth and say, okay, yes, we have them, we have deployed bots. They will always say, we have nothing to do with them, we don't have bots. And it's very difficult to say that, well, it was this and this country behind the attack or the interference we have seen and experienced. Thank you for your attention.